What's up YouTube? This is Kyle Fonger from Vapor Hut, driven by you, fueled by vapor. And today I'm going to be doing a review of the HexOhm V2 and Twisted Messes RDA. Let's start with this beautiful RDA, designed by Twisted Messes. This thing is perfect. I mean, this is my favorite RDA that has come out to date. It's basically the El Cabron with 4 post holes. Yeah, you heard me, 4. These are about 3mm size post holes, and there's nothing I can't fit in here. Right now I'm running a staggered Clapton. I'll show you in the close-ups, but I have plenty of room in these post holes. I could easily do a duel. So this RDA comes in this beautiful royal blue box. Love it. Awesome logo, Twisted, really like it. Inside you're going to find all the typical things you get with an RDA, especially if you're familiar with the El Cabrons. You got a metal chuff cap, you got a Delrin chuff cap that's a little bit smaller, and you have your drip tip with the 510 adapter, along with a replaceable sleeve that's stainless steel. So you guys saw I'm using the blue one, also comes with a stainless steel. And of course a bag of goodies, extra O-rings, extra insulators, an Allen key, post. One of my favorite things about this RDA is how thin the top cap is. It doesn't take up any extra space inside of the RDA. So that means that your coil can be just about at the edge of that deck or those juice wells, and this is not going to touch. When you're using something like the Mutation or the Troll, you have to worry about those internal airflow control rings. Basically, when they come in, they can touch your coil and really mess it up. You don't have that problem with the Twisted Messes RDA. O-rings are smooth. I really like this top cap, this crown design. Just all in all, slick looking RDA. It sits flush on this HexOhm V2. And actually Twisted Messes in one of his tutorial videos taught me how to build this very coil. So this is kind of nostalgic, running the staggered Clapton on Twisted Messes RDA. So I'm just loving this whole setup I got right now. Check this thing out. And I'm about a quarter of the way turned up. Here is the Twisted Messes RDA. Comes with the metal chuff cap on it. But as I showed you, it also comes with a Delrin and a 510. Here is the build deck. As you can see, the negative posts are milled into the side. I have this nice juice well and giant, almost 3mm in diameter post holes. I can see why Twisted Messes designed his RDA like this. The kinds of builds that guy does. Uses Allen key, which it comes with. Dual O-rings. And unlike the El Cabron, there is no catching with this one. My first El Cabron, I found the top cap caught a lot on these O-rings and started to chew them up, but I'm not finding that is the case with this Twisted Messes RDA. So just like the El Cabron, these are both made by CompVape, and you can see the similarities in the way the top cap's designed, although Twisted Messes did add this crown-like top rim. Very nice looking, great job, man. Really enjoying this RDA. So that's this RDA. I'm absolutely loving this. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside so we can dive into the box. So here we have the HexOhm V2. Let's start with the 510. It looks a lot like the Fat Daddy 510 connection, but this is actually called the Veritube. One difference is the height of the Veritube as compared to the Fat Daddy 510. It's much slimmer, or much shorter on top. It's got 4 channels for those of you still using tanks that use bottom fed airflow. And the brass connection is spring loaded. So every addy that I've put on here sits perfectly flush. One of my favorite features of this box mod is the button. See how clicky that is? And And where some box mods, they click, but then you gotta press them really hard in order for it to fire, that is not the case with the HexOhm V2. As soon as you hear that click, this thing is firing, and it doesn't let off. So I have the red button edition here, but it also comes in yellow, blue, black, gray, and green. Now, as much as this looks like an unregulated device, it actually is regulated. So on one side you have the HexOhm symbol with your serial number in the center, and across from that you have this little potentiometer. Now this dial basically regulates how much voltage you're putting out. If when it's all the way left or all the way down, it's going to be 3.3 volts, and when it's all the way up, the manufacturer is saying 6 volts. Now the specs of the particular chip that's in here actually says it goes up to 5.5. So for the remainder of this video, all the math I'll be doing with this, I'll be assuming 5.5 volts is the max. So 4 magnets actually hold this door on, and these are some tough magnets. You got a little bit of give, a little bit of movement when this back door is on, but all in all, it feels extremely solid, extremely durable, and you have to find a corner and get your nail in there. I just trimmed my nails, so that's hard to pull this off, but this is a snappy door. So there you can see the chip, and this is the OKL T20 W12 chip. This is rated for 20 amps or 110 watts, but the manufacturer says they can actually be pushed higher than that, so 120 is its actual max. Now the batteries are hooked up in series. So on the left side, you have positive going down, negative going up, and on the right side, you have positive going up and negative going down. But very clean design, all of the wiring, all of this is enclosed with shrink wrap, and the battery sled, everything looks very clean on the inside of this HexOhm. I'm going to go ahead and pop my batteries back in. The right side, positive goes up, and on the left side, negative goes up. Get those in, and watch this battery backing. Watch how easily this snapped, and it's on. And there's no way that's coming off, unintentionally anyway. So the HexOhm V2 is made out of the Hammond box. It's actually the same box as the V1. They just replaced the chip. On all of the sides, except for the one with the logo, you have this powder coated aluminum. It's got a really nice feel to it, and it helps to detract fingerprints, so you don't see fingerprints on these sides. And on the side with the logo, you have this nice brushed aluminum with what seems to be kind of like a laser engraving. This doesn't look like it's going to rub off anytime soon. So let's cut back to normal view. I'll vape on her a little bit, talk about it, talk about Ohm's law and why that's important, and we'll wrap up this review. Talk about a hard-hitting, consistent device. So a couple things off the bat about this HexOhm V2. First of all, with this potentiometer, means you don't have a screen, so you can't see exactly what volts you're at. There's not even little marks here to tell you how high you are, how low you are. So basically the way you have to adjust this device is turn it all the way down, vape it, and you're gonna adjust to taste. So you're gonna take it up a little bit, take it up a little more, take it up a little bit more, find your sweet spot basically. Now, with that in mind, you wanna make sure you're not going over 120 watts. So the manufacturer says this goes down to 0.3. That's assuming you're using the entire range of that potentiometer. So that assumes you're going all the way from the 3.3 volts to the 5.5 volts. Now 5.5 volts at 0.3 ohms comes out to about 100 watts. If it does indeed go up to 6 volts, then you're looking at 120 watts. But if you're going under 0.3 ohms, like this build I have on here right now, which is a 0.14, you want to make sure you are not running this all the way at 5.5 volts. So basically, you're going to take your 120 watts and multiply that by your resistance, in this case 0.14. With that answer, you're going to square root it. This is a derivation of the formula volts squared divided by resistance equals wattage. So if you take both sides of the equation and multiply by resistance, you're left with volts squared equals watts times resistance. So you just take the square root of watts times resistance and you have the voltage to get you to that wattage. But again, I don't have a screen to take it exactly to that voltage. So without being able to see the voltage, I have to kind of adjust by feel. If I know all the way turned down is 3.3 volts and all the way turned up is 5.5, then 4.4 is somewhere in the middle. If I don't want to go over 4 volts to stay under 120 watts, I shouldn't turn this to the right more than about 25%. So I should stay in that quarter of a range. If I go much past that, I'm going to be trying to pull too many amps, too high of a wattage from this chip, and that could fry the chip. So that's why the manufacturer suggests a 0.3 ohm as the minimum resistance that this HexOhm V2 will fire at. That will give you the entire range all the way up to 5.5 volts, and it won't do anything to the chip. Look at how consistent this thing fires though. I mean, click, 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 click. I mean, when you press it, she's going. All in all, I gotta say, I am loving this HexOhm V2, and I am really loving this Twisted Messes RDA. It's consistent on the firing button, it's durable, it's just all around, it feels great, and the button's in just the right place. I can hit it with this finger, I can turn around and hit it with my thumb. I definitely prefer the pointer finger to fire this, but it's just a well-made device, and for $189.99 it should be. So this device is definitely not for the newbies out there that are just getting into vaping. This is for the experienced vapor who knows how to adjust something to taste. It's going to be harder for those new users to adjust to taste. So couple that with the fact that you need to have some kind of an understanding of Ohm's law to use this device safely without blowing the chip. This is definitely for the more experienced vapors out there. And for a device that feels and looks like a mech mod, but has the option to change that voltage, I just love it. Some of the builds I've been doing lately, I've found that lower voltage, they just perform better. I can take bigger hits, I can really get that flavor without it being over warm or too hot basically. And with this device, I have that option. Now, one con with this device is it doesn't sit flush. I'll cut to a close-up here in a second, but it's kind of a subjective con. It's not a big deal by any means, but for you OCD vapors out there, this might get on your nerves. So here's the Sigelei 150 watt, sitting perfectly straight. And here is the Hammond box, the HexOhm V2, sitting just off, just leaning this way just a little bit. Not a huge deal, but again, it is kind of odd. One thing I forgot to mention about how durable this device is that Matt Bradley from Deadliest Catch uses this on their fishing boats. So they come back with the salt corrosion all over it and they just send them in and they're all fixed up perfectly fine. So that's pretty impressive that these can handle the ocean waves and still work, still function as they're supposed to. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed this review of the HexOhm version 2 and the new Twisted Messes RDA. This has been Kyle from Vapor Hut, driven by you, fueled by vapor. Have a great day, guys.
Now I gotta organize this stupid. Oh. My bad. You should put that in the video.